Throughout trials and tribulations, you have never given up the fight. Gather here to straighten your crown. Much love and light. Hit it!
Hit the light, hit the light.
Love and light. Love and Light Collective. So it has come to my attention that there has been some wannabe negative Nelsons, negative Nellies. All right, I say wannabe not to be offensive, but I don't want to be word cursy either. Okay. But the reason why I say that is because the general topic for this particular, we'll call it a discussion, that's fine, right? Is regarding negative feelings, okay? Thoughts, provocation comes to mind, okay? You know what, collective? Anymore, you don't really have to look too far to the left, the right, upside down, hell, maybe even at times underneath you for some dense type of energy, okay? There's a lot going on, referable to, timeline shifting. Some of us are actually performing out a quantum leap or two. Maybe this isn't even your first or ninth, okay, depending on who all I'm reading for. And we're all at varying degrees of this, okay? It makes sense. But let's talk, okay? Because one thing I know about you, honey bun, whether guy, girl, what have you, you got a crown, okay? Whether you can see it or feel it or even perhaps lay claim to it currently in current energies or not, I'm here to help you straighten it, okay? So what we should talk about today, apparently, is collective. All negative feelings stem from the same source. When enough negative feelings have been relinquished, that source reveals itself, however. When that source itself is let go of and disidentified with, the ego dissolves. The source of suffering therefore loses the very basis of its power. Okay, so this is really, long story short, the epitome of a friendly reminder here. You've got the right to choose, right? Two people, we talk about this often on the channel, can be standing on the same street corner, right? And they could be experiencing the same type of weather and the same type of traffic, okay? One person's about to lose their ish, perhaps, and the other not so, right? It's just run of the mill. It's just another day. It's perhaps even a good day for some, still standing on that same street corner, all right? This is just an illustrative example. Nobody really has to go step out or nothing. Just saying, okay? But really, when you can disidentify with that portion of your ego, because we're not here to just, completely dissolve the ego down, right? We're not here to say we don't need the ego. We definitely need the ego, okay? It does assist with keeping us alive, nonetheless, in varying degrees. However, when it's overinflated, or dare I say underinflated, therein lies some sort of toxicity, and negative feelings can easily creep in if you are engaged in some form of toxicity. Now, this is not a blame game, right? This is just, again, a friendly reminder to ask you to choose. When you realize, okay, and many of you, not gonna lie to you, you kind of have to check in to realize, right, what kind of feelings, what kind of thoughts are milling about within. You have to ask yourself some of those questions, check in. Hey, how are you, self? Right? Then you can start to identify this is either negative or positive. This is either an experience, a thought, a feeling I want, or I no longer require, right? So when you let go of that, okay, then you're letting go ultimately of suffering and ultimately the very things, people, places, right, that maybe tried to get under your skin perhaps, or keep you up at night. They no longer have that same power, if at all. Okay, and I say it that way because you know what, you guys, this is a try again type of process. All right. But the technique really should be to be with the feelings here, okay? You've got to identify them. And the reason why as well is because not every feeling is necessarily your own. A lot of people intend and unintentionally project, certain energy, and they can produce certain feelings. Others are intentionally producing energy such that you should feel and think a certain way, right? And it may not, sadly, it's often not necessarily in our highest benefit or our highest timeline. 444 just hit that timer. You guys are so divinely assisted, okay? And I do have a really interesting story at the end, so I do hope you stick around because it ties in to the end of your session, all right? And with a very poignant aspect of the message. Just saying, all right? But let go of wanting to resist those feelings, honey bun, okay? Because the resistance is what keeps those feelings going, all right? Keeps you stuck. It makes you tired. It hurts, okay? Don't do that. Similarly, love promotes love, okay? So anyone who's let go of a lot of inner negativity is ultimately automatically surrounded by loving thoughts, loving events, loving people, and loving pets, dare I say. All right, so this is really the workaround. If you're resonating with this and current energy is going, gosh, yeah, I've been really riding that roller coaster, and the roller coaster has just had knives on the seats, and I think I lost one of my eyeballs trying to ride one of those hills. I get it, okay. However, and there is some further aspect to today's discussion, all right, that you are definitely going to want to hear, okay? Now, 43, I'm looking at, that energy reduces down to a beautiful 7, and it speaks to rewards. And more often than not, it speaks to rewards on the other side of a cycle or two, okay? Many of you have been learning the age-old adage that slow and steady wins that race, okay. You have been delving into aspects of your prayer, meditation, and magic, okay, maybe even your craft. Some of you could be readers, having your own platforms here. You've been learning the balancing act, okay, and understanding that you are, or you're being asked to, 644 was just on that timer, to understand that you are going into the unknown, yes, but there's a whole host of abundant type of experiences there. Yes, including that of the financial, all right, with this wishing well energy. I look at the timer, it's 7 on the dot, and I look at this wishing well card, and it's got a beautiful 48, okay? There's wishes fulfillment, okay, being ushered into you, as well as angelic presences, okay? Now you're being asked to, again, continue to do your part here. Makes sense, you're still alive. Uh-huh. Um, 25, reducing down to another beautiful 7 here. Wow, how lucky are you? You know what? 726 was just on that timer. And silly me, I thought that it's late when I'm recording this. I thought that reduced down to another 7. Uh, but I digress. Okay, so you're being asked, collective, to release the dark wound and let love live. Okay. Um, This reminds me of some earlier shadow work that I was doing regarding feeling safe. It's like you're asking permission. Is it safe to give myself permission, right? And as I say that, I'm looking down at this trust yourself card with a beautiful 31 reducing to 4. Also speaking of wishes fulfillment, but also healing. There is healing energy for your mind if you should only be receptive to this, even just through this message, folks. All right. You are being guided to do your part, yes, okay, by releasing. You know what's so funny? It just almost seems like in today's society, it's easier to go get off the cuff, okay, just the idea of go get, all right, than it is to release often, right? Um, even down to money. Many of us do talk lack in general communities, right? We hear about that. Okay, so not many of us here, but many of us understand that in society, right? A lot of people are talking lack in those streets, whether they mean to or not. Okay, but man, they're not talking about releasing money. Okay, because the general consensus, excuse me, is that it's really ultimately more natural to go get, more easier to go get than it is to release, let go, sacrifice, even, right? And even at times on this journey, we're asked to sacrifice parts of ourselves, sacrifice, certain ideations, certain desires. And it can It can weigh, it can feel very weighty. I'll give you that, okay? But there's something about your being guided into this meditation here to continue to get some further details with this 43 energy reducing to 7. So there could be some specific guidance ushered into you as you slow things down and intention to get, into your receptivity mode as well as your release methods, okay? Whatever and what all ever you're being asked to release, okay? This is something that you in your heart of hearts would know resonates as far as what you have been already asked, quite frankly, to begin to release. And on the other side of this, your big, bold vision, whatever and what all ever you are looking to manifest, looking to freely receive, is coming in. All right. So, just like anything else, if anything, we talked about ego, right? But heart space could be at an imbalance here as well, the heart chakra. Okay, because often people who are, really so passionate about getting and not so passionate about releasing, there is an imbalance there. Okay. And we do know that you are to do your part to continue to learn some of those lessons like you've been doing, okay, regarding balance as well as the other things that we talked about. There could be some great significance to having ties to ancient Egypt, okay. I'm really seeing a lot of ancient Egypt vibes with this big, bold vision. So this could be something that you had intended to carry out even in a previous incarnation. All right, could be some significance to tattoos about the face, gold jewelry, scarabs, and or bees. Okay, whether that's an initial for you or the insect, but I will be clear. I'm looking at the insect. Okay. Now, not gonna lie, this big bold vision card does have the energy of 15 reducing to 6, indicating aspects of ties to ancient Egypt as well as that balance that we're talking about. And speaking of balance, I'm now looking at the energy of 8 on the actual message attached to this particular oracle card, which is not the message in the guidebook for it. However, I do as I'm told. All right, so as the spirit leads, we are talking with this energy of 8, speaking of being in alignment, speaking of, abundance, prosperity. Be the hunter, not the hunted. Okay, so maybe for many of you, there could be these lower density energy, like nagging sources of drain, right? I don't want to say like energy vampires, but I mean situational energy vampires, perhaps, right? Nonetheless. So, this oracle message ultimately is: do you feel you are at the beck and call of circumstances, situations, and/or relationships that are outside of your control? Is your attention being called away from what you love, from what you're passionate, focus upon your own journey and creative self expression are? Are you feeling roped into becoming a support, tonic, savior, and heal all for others? There is a big difference between healthy supportiveness in a relationship, which includes healthy support, and ignoring your own journey out of misplaced guilt, shame, unworthiness, or the belief that the needs of others are more important than your own. And collective, I'll stop right there just to mention all of that shit right there will actually block and or at least slow down your manifestations, because unless and until you've got balance in, again, some of those chakral spaces, okay, heart space comes to mind for sure, at least, all right, as well as root and sacral, quite frankly. But you're not really putting your best foot forward into anything else you were looking to receive through the manifestation anyhow, right? Think about it. Many of you are manifesting things like businesses. Well, it takes organization. That does take balance, right? It does take your availability as well as discipline, right? So you can't really add that into the mix when you're already people pleasing and spreading yourself thin. 1414 on that timer, reducing to a very timely 5-5 energy. Speaking of change, okay? Change for what? Towards your actual wish fulfillment, okay? But really, it's going to take for you to, get disciplined in boundaries here, some of you. You're being asked to see through the assumptions, expectations, tantrums, or manipulations that may be put upon you by yourself or others. There's that projection energy, whether that's coming from you, collective, yourself, and you'd have to check. You really do have to be self-aware at this point, okay? Or others. And if and when you should see that it's others, just the same as yourself, please don't act like you didn't see what you found there, okay? It's kind of why a lot of people don't like to find stuff, sadly, right? I don't know about you, collective. I love to dig around, whether it's, just in any heart space aspect or chakra area, just because that is a form of self love to check in, to see how you're doing and feeling, and to alchemize what all you've been through, if appropriate. And I say if appropriate because a lot of times we're not meant to do all of the alchemization always and in all ways. Okay? So please don't get that twisted either. But definitely see the truth here. All right? Whether about self as well as others. You can only sidestep, change your response to, or choose to release that which you can recognize. Okay? So you gotta look, you gotta be honest. Okay? You gotta be vulnerable, perhaps. But this big, bold vision really is tied to that wishing well energy, if you couldn't tell, okay? And it's all good, and it's all worth it, and it's all what you want, and it's all what you deserve. All right? So you're capable of doing this. You're capable of recognizing old patterns. You're capable of responding more to creativity. All right? Even if this is just simply and solely crafting new and improved relationships with self as well as others. Okay? Some of you, you're a crafter out there. There's a few of us. So that too, okay. But wherever your creativity takes you here, collective, you know what I'm saying. There's a side note here. Don't be getting drawn up into the dramas of others. Okay, it's just a time waster. It's an effort waster. It is a risk. You know what I mean? Some of you, according to the next book message, apparently, I did not know I was flipping the page, but we got a 10 here talking about releasing allegiances. I want to say alliances, but it's allegiances. So it's like, okay, seasons change, I'm hearing this old song. Seasons change. I don't even know who that's, because I don't know, that might even be before my time. Maybe it's not even 80s. I don't know. Anywho, okay. Now for the most interesting part. No, I'm just joking. But here's the send off for you, my lovely honey buns. I will tell you before I tell you the message what actually happened, okay? This last bit of the message, okay, very powerful. I don't mean to undermine it. It's coming out of the Animal Apothecary deck by Kara Elizabeth, who's awesome AF, however. Miss Mosey was kind enough to help us with which card deck was going to next be used. I couldn't decide between that one or the Curious Creatures, and I knew I was not really trying to dive super deep down rabbit holes tonight. It's really late, but so we're pulling from this Animal Apothecary. Okay, thanks to little Miss Mosey, and I kid you not, collective. I took the cards and I began to shuffle them, and this one card just flew out of the deck like almost immediately, like almost like it was like, what is there, like a spring action type of device in the deck or something? Like it was crazy weird, right? And so of all things, okay, we have the energy of 23 reducing to another 5. So big changes if you allow for them, collective. I'm so serious. And changes for the better, and changes towards what all you want, okay? You just gotta believe and keep going. This particular card says, quote, see beyond the past, end quote. So if you're here for love, if you're here for business, all right, that still applies. Okay, you got to get over whatever wounding you find there and be honest about the wounding, because gosh, you want to find it so that you can not actually be controlled by it. Makes sense? And cannot make this up. One last thing. The bottom of the deck here of the same particular animal apothecary. Claim your power. There could be some significance to black swan or swans in general, as well as that of the tiger, whether you call him Tony or not. I love you guys so much. Thanks for rocking with me. I hope you got something out of this. It was for you if you did. Love and light.